Yeah.
The people there are very hospitable, very friendly, very passionate. The country itself is beautiful. It's a country that has a lot of oppression from the government. Those ties are obviously loosening now, and people have to make do with that. But it's a beautiful country. It's full of life. The music is amazing. People are very kind. There's a lot of happiness there.
And you tell us a little bit about the mission work that you did.
I was there for 6.5 weeks, and me, and along with my teammates, traveled to a different location each week. We started out in Havana. The first week we were there, we took Spanish lessons, where I actually learned more Spanish than I did all 4 years of high school. And we had lectures from professors from the University of Havana about the U.S.-Cuban relationship, the economy, the culture, and family dynamics. And then the second week, we were working preparing different churches and different places in town. We did home visits to people who were sick and delivering food and stuff like that to them, medication. We spent a lot of time just talking with people. I lived with a family for 2 weeks, just getting to know people, getting to know more about their lives and what day-to-day life is like.
And Bill, now, across the generations, your impression.
My impression is that every time I go back, it changes. I go back every 6 months, every 3 months. I notice changes. And the current changes are with social media.
Speak up a little more. I want to make sure everybody hears.
The people have been denied the access to the internet and other social media for years now, and only now is the government relenting. But the way they relented is you can have the internet, but it's going to cost you a lot of money, like $80 a month. They make about 20. Sometimes I go to the Hotel Nacional or I go to the Parque Central to use the internet, and sometimes they say we don't have internet today. Just don't have it. That's where I met Signe Wilkinson of the Inquirer. We ran into each other over there. They call it the business center. So the government still has its hands on your throat over there. We might have all these plans for what we're going to do over there, open a business, do this or do that, but the government controls everything. They have to agree to everything. That's one change.
And Chef, right now at the end, I wanted to ask you what you've created here. This is a sort of romanticized view of Cuba.
Well, 12 years ago, we had an idea that what Cuban food and the architecture would have been if Castro would not be in power. So all this time we've been romanticizing what the food, what could have been. So we done that for 10 years, or 9 years now. In the last 3, we have discovered we were always correct. We always knew that Cuban food and this it was real. We never had access to Havana before until 3 or 4 years ago. So we did this out of, I wouldn't call it gut feeling, and we were always correct.
Now, this meal that we had today, this is not the meal of a typical Cuban.
No, but there are modifications. For example, the Salada Rancho Luna comes from a very old recipe and a very old resort. It's called Rancho Luna. They were very famous for a sour orange chicken. So we take that recipe, we convert it into a lunch item, and that's what you have. The sopa levanta muerto is an influence. Cuba has a lot of influence on many cuisines, from Chinese to Haitian, to French, to English, American, and a little bit of Mexican also. So, but we are taking the soul of the country from the beginning of time to now and create different methods. A burger, of course, you have to do it for the American public, right? So, but you see that guacamole cubano. A lot of people don't know that the Cubans love the combination of pineapple and avocado. A lot of Cubans don't know that. But when you marry a Cuban for 24 years and you know your mother-in-law for a longer time than that, and you start to develop sense of what's going on in the island without being there. So we started to form or Americanize or more gourmet, make the food more gourmet of what.
You've had a lot of Cuban Americans, natives of Cuba, come in here to eat. What's been their reaction?
This is not like my mother or grandmother used to make. Yes, we know, but she's not here right now. I'm in charge of this kitchen, so this is what you have. Now, the food that you know as Cuban food, that is a 60-year-old food. It's food that is old. Cuba is not making this food any longer. Cuba is, especially in certain paladares in Havana, the food is lighter, more sophisticated, more precise, fresher. You don't have all the starches on the plate like you used to. Those Calle Ocho plates, they are in Havana, but not in the restaurants.
Bill wanted to say something, and I wanted to Brian. Bill.
I wanted to say something about the hamburgers.
Yeah.
And there was somebody raised the issue. The hamburgers in Havana, anyway, they mix them with soybean.
That's right.
And the taste is like, it's not like Burger King. But in Sloppy Joe's bar and restaurant, have you been there?
Yes.
The Sloppy Joe burger meat is the real burger meat.
That's right.
And it's very tasty and a little spicy too. I highly recommend it.
The number one item that the Cubans eat for lunch, you won't believe what it is. Pizza. Why? Because the economy is in such a disarray that starches are very accessible. Yuca, rice, and flour. So you can make anything, pizza out of any of those things.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Brian about the prospects for travel now with the opening, and where is the Philadelphia Convention Visitors Bureau with all of this as we open the door to Cuba?
Sure, as most of you know, Philadelphia Convention Visitors Bureau is the official tourism promotion agency. We're responsible for promoting Philadelphia so that people come here for conventions. And then my division is responsible for people coming here for their leisure holidays, specifically focusing on international. So there's two ways to describe it. There's the outbound tourism and inbound tourism, right? So the outbound tourism would be Americans going to Cuba. Would someone that would have traveled to Philadelphia now that Cuba is accessible, maybe doesn't come to Philadelphia and go to Cuba, maybe combine it with Miami. There's so many different options, right? You can do. And how will the incoming tourism work? So typically when you open up new markets, and Cuba is a beautiful country, but they've had a hard time for a long time. So two things come out of that. They have been accessible to our primary markets for a long time. You know, if you're from the UK, you can always go to Cuba. If you're from Brazil, you can always go to Cuba. But will the Cubans afford to come to the United States? Some people will, some people won't. Some people will want to stay there to take care of their business. We might get a few doctors, let's say, who will come here on a medical convention. So it's kind of the million-dollar question. But at the end of the day, it's a kind of small country. You know, there's no country in the Caribbean that fits in our top 10. Definitely not in our top 10. Maybe not even in our top 20. So it could cut both ways, right? There might be a lot of visiting family and friends going to Miami, visit their family and staying in their family's homes, so the trip would cost much less. But nevertheless, I don't think it's going to be very easy for Cubans to get visas to travel to the US right away.
Now, what would you, if you were advising Cuba, if there was a Cuban travel and tourism agency or something, Brian, and this is a watershed moment for Cuba, so to speak, with this whole market opening, how would you advise them? And let's put aside for a moment the conditions of the government. How would you advise them?
I'm pretty sure they would want to stay at home and make as much money as they can while catering to the American tourists, right? This is their new 300 million plus people on their doorstep that now are going to be allowed to go to their country. So there's going to be a change in how cruise ship operates. And there's already tour operator clients of mine that are opening offices in Miami, so that people that are coming in from Brazil, let's say to Miami, can combine a 2 or 3 day visit to Cuba. So they're going to take a little bit of market share from certain areas in the country, but also there isn't the big infrastructure currently to handle a big influx of tourists. So I think cruising would be probably the lowest hanging fruit for them.
Lauren, I was looking online, you were in Cuba fairly recently, and there was a list of things, tips for traveling to Cuba. Now tell me if these are accurate, because this is what it said. Number 1, don't bring bling, okay? Number 2, don't take pictures of police or soldiers. Number 3, don't diss Fidel, the Castros, or the revolution, or communism. In fact, don't say anything about it. Number 4, don't blow your nose in public or spit in the streets. It's considered rude. Your reaction? I don't know, I blew my nose a few moments ago over here. I hope I didn't say it. Go ahead.
Okay, let's see. The first one, don't bring bling. I'm not too sure about that. It's the nature of my trip. I didn't pack it anyway, so that wasn't an issue. It is illegal to take pictures of the police or soldiers, so you just had to be careful about that. I brought a knife on to take photos and make sure before I took anything that there was no police cars, police officers in it. Don't diss Fidel. If you were told ahead of time, don't go around asking about it. And when we asked people how they felt about the new U.S. relationship and the government currently, very unbiased, a lot of people said, oh, it's fine. They didn't want to say anything bad about the Castros. And then once people got to know us and got to be more comfortable with us, they started opening up, saying, yes, our government's oppressive, we don't have a lot of rights or opportunities here, but we're happy. You have to learn how to be happy in the condition that you're in. As far as don't blow your nose in public or spit in the streets, I didn't really see anything like that. I don't do that anyway. And then don't drink the water.
Yeah, I was going to ask Bill. One of them was don't drink the water. Bill,
Yeah, I buy bottled water.
bottled water. And
When we
Now, when I
were,
get my mojitos, the ice is the regular water, and I'm feeling good for about a day, and then whoop, I'm in trouble. Because I'm chewing the ice.
yeah, we had, everywhere that we stayed had to have a living water system. It's a system, a water filtration system that a nonprofit has put in different communities in Cuba. So when we were living when I was living with my family, I had to fill up my water bottle at the system for the night before I went back. And I had to brush my teeth with that, wash my face with that. And I had one guy on my team, he had a mojito or a daiquiri or something that was made with the ice that wasn't safe, and he got really sick for 2 days. So definitely don't drink the water.
Bill, what about don't bring American Express or any card issued by U.S. Bank, bring cash.
That's right, cash only.
Cash
Only
only.
cash.
And what about bring gifts for hotel stay? They appreciate things like shampoo, diapers, fishing tackle, underwear, eyeglasses, school supplies, and toys.
Well, that's really nice.
Did you ever,
I only
did
stayed
anybody
in the
ever tell you
hotel.
to do that? Like,
I only stayed in a hotel once, my first trip. Subsequently, I rent apartments all over the place, so I get to know different sections of the city. But I do bring eyeglasses for the elderly, toys for kids, candy, shoes. They need shoes. They walk everywhere.
Guillermo, what do you say to people? What would you say to them who say, why are we opening up these doors and doing business with a corrupt dictatorship, a brutal, corrupt dictatorship that has imprisoned thousands of people just for speaking out, just for trying to be free? What do you say to that?
Well, it's a little more history just to than that. I've been with a family for the last 30 years who were the godfather or the great grandfather was the president of Cuba. The alma mater of the University of Havana is her grandmother. And they were ambassadors, they were politicians, their parks named after them. And they are not bitter. These people lost everything, and they are not bitter. So for the last 60 years, our policies have not worked. So we have to try something different. And the Cuban people are not to be blamed for this. And those are the ones who are suffering. The Castro's family is not suffering, just the Cuban people. And somehow, this is a way around of helping them.
But they say that the money that we're spending here is never going to be seen by the people. 90% of it is going to go to the cash.
But you're not doing that anyway by holding an embargo, because Cubans are bringing millions and billions of dollars on the airplane. Besides, that's something that I really don't like to discuss because Cuba to me is food and not politics. So that is the number one rule that I have when I travel to Cuba. If you want to talk about Fidel, the only thing you have to do is you just say people. And that also, like I said, this is a saying, this is Fidel. When somebody wants to talk about Fidel, they go like that. They don't use the name, that's the beer, right? It's a mannerism. So my visits to Cuba and my love with the island is about food, nothing else. So politics are for the politicians and not for me. I'm part of the chef corps of the State Department, and I've been contacted by the Cuban embassy perhaps to do an event in Cuba with them. We are chef corps. We are not part of any other diplomacy, just food diplomacy. And I believe that's my goal. We've been doing this for a long time, for 6 years, 5 years. And it's not a long time compared to Bill, but we always take palabra. We want to only talk about food and make the changes that we can in the food of Havana.
Bill wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say with this guy here,
Yeah.
I carry a picture of him in my wallet. And when the cops stop me, because I have a big T on my license plate for tourists, when you rent a car, there's a big T. And they see it and they go, and then you stop, and they come over and they say, documento. And the first thing I do is I pull out this. And I show my documents and everything usually okay.
That's it. Brian, I wanted to ask you, how do I put this? Are there other countries where you have to advise people not to talk about the regime, the politics, and how do you handle that in the international travel?
So, job-wise, I'm concerned.
Yeah, job-wise, as a professional.
Yeah, I'm concerned about people coming to Philadelphia, right? So when people go somewhere else or they're interested in going somewhere else, they don't go there, come to Philadelphia. No, but there's crazy politicians everywhere, right? It's never like a good idea to talk about politics and religion and stuff like that anywhere you go, right? Unless you know the people like really well. It's never a good idea, regardless of where you are. If you are anywhere in the Middle East. There's crazy politicians in Asia and Europe. There's crazy politicians everywhere. Plenty. Right? So it's not a very good idea. It's always good to avoid it in my opinion.
So you sort of have to look at it, you sort of have to look at it all as a learning process and sensitizing yourself to different cultures and different parts of the world.
I would never bring it up unless they bring it up first. I think that's a good rule of thumb.
And even so, I was approached by secret police in a farm between Raul's and Fidel's house. We were doing an event. And I have this jacket that said Cuba Libre. This guy, I knew it was a secret police, and he started questioning me in a very normal way. The way to get out of this problem is speak badly about the Cubans that live in Miami. And as soon as you do that, they leave you alone because they know that you're part of the revolution that's going on. It works.
I found that when I was there, the people who live there love their country.
They do.
It's so full of culture. It's such a strong sense of community. When I was living with a family, my mom took care of every little kid on the street. She would make dinner for my team and I, and would make food for everyone who just stopped by. And the people loved that there. When we asked them if we knew that they had family members in Miami, we said, well, would you ever move there to live with them? And they said, no, we love Cuba, we don't want to leave. And there are good aspects of the government as well. Education is free, college is free, and you're guaranteed a job after you graduate, which is really nice. It just has to be in your field of study.
Well, you know, in preparing for this panel discussion, and I'm going to open it up to questions in a moment. I was reading a lot about Cuba, and I was reading about Ernest Hemingway's years in Cuba, which was part of the romance in Cuba. And I came across this paragraph where it said, you can understand why Havana pulled in Hemingway and why he chose to spend so much time here. The pulsating physicality, the taut and hungry bodies, hard drinkers, women and girls striking and sassy, soulful, intense music that liberates the spirit from the underworld, and old and delicately maintained Chevrolets. And I thought, you know, that just, this sensuality, I think, and for us, the sort of secrecy of it for more than 50 years is what now makes it so fascinating. And I want to thank the panel, and I'll open it up now for questions. Yes?
I think we all agree that the warming of the relationship is a good thing.